Oh my gosh. You guys are getting better and better and better. By you guys, I mean, I always say that you guys are the best audience ever. You guys are like the coolest audience ever. You get upgraded today. Thank you so much for sending in everything that you send in. And just the response from our podcast guests saying that they have just had the most incredible experiences with you. So thank you for whatever you're doing, because I'm getting all sorts of really great feedback. So thanks so much. We do the best that we can to bring you the best that we have around accepting the mission. So we talk about that, right? What is it like to accept the mission? What is it like to be an entrepreneur? What is it like to be a creative? What is it to either have an idea? Sometimes I call them downloads. You just get these downloads and you're like, I kind of heard or I feel, or a book fell out of a shelf and I just know that it was meant for me. Here's an interesting story. I went to go, I was coaching this incredible woman. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I'm coaching her today to get her business to a whole different level. That's great. It's what we do, right? And I had been debating on the way there whether I wanted to set up my son's business account with one or two different, financial institutions. And I'm debating between the two, and one's more community based and he's got his credit card with one, and what should I do? And one would be easier, but I think one would be better. And I'm just like, okay, universe, by the time I'm finished doing my session today, I'm going to walk to the bank because they're both in the neighborhood. Which one should I do? And so she's starting to tell me a story, and we're halfway in her session. And she's like, oh yeah, so my, bank institution, obviously I'm not saying which bank because I don't want to make one sound better than the other. She goes, the guy calls me once a month and tells me of all sorts of grants and loans that I'm entitled to. And it happened to be one of the banks I'm thinking about. I'm like, thank you. So that's what I call a download, or a knowingness that you need to go in a certain direction. And I certainly know that our guest today, because she also has the gift of being able to coach and lead people through to their passion. And we talk about intuition and inspiration and how people are attracted to people. And so she's really good at what she does. And so I believe that if you're watching this episode, you're meant to watch this episode. And if you have decided to become an entrepreneur on some level, you decided to take the mission. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm super excited because our guest has the opportunity, like I said, to talk to many people who are on their own mission. But first, Ashika, please share with us, what was it like for you when you made the decision to step out of wherever you were into whatever you do now? So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, first of all, Deborah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here with you guys and to be able to share my story and share my mission. So really, really grateful
to
be here.
We're just as grateful. We're just as grateful.
So how did it feel when I first started? Oh gosh, it was scary. Yeah, it was scary. It was exciting. There's also a lot of doubts that go into your in your mind. A lot of expectations that we have taken on as our own voice, but it felt freeing. It felt liberating to be able to really step into my purpose, step into my mission, to work through my own blocks so I can get through the message that I am here to help women and guide women through.
I love how you said, I just want to capture that. I love how you said we take on those expectations like it's our own voice. I think that's such a beautiful way to say that we need to stop and examine when we're about to do something for our own betterment and go, whose voices am I hearing? Is that from society? Is it from my friends? Is it from, my childhood? Is it from people that made impression upon me? Is it a teacher that's actually making you question, your purpose or your next step or what have you? Because sometimes we do hear them. They're alive, they're alive for us. We're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And can I make it? And just stop and go, who's talking? Whose voice is that? Share with us, what did you do before you became a leadership coach? Where did you come from?
So prior to becoming a leadership coach, I was a holistic nutritionist. I still semi practice as a health coach for those clients that do need it. But prior to that, I was a registered dental hygienist in Vancouver. So I was very grateful for the opportunity that bought me. After my marriage went sour, um, being able to financially support myself and my son was a huge benefit. So I came from the world of dentistry, which served me really well. It also allowed me to still be in the health and wellness industry because, as we know, what we tell at that time my patients is the mouth and your whole body is connected. And of course, is connected to your digestive system. So it still allowed me to help others. And eventually, after I would say about 13, 14 years of dentistry, I felt like my little cubicle clinic was too small for my purpose. And then I also was getting this that where you say the voice or the whispers that if I'm there, I'm taking up space for somebody else that needs to be there now.
Oh, that's good. That's good, my friend. That's good.
Yeah.
I hope you guys really heard that. I hope that lands for those of you that are concerned or trapped in a little bit of fear or paranoia, or when you know that you're getting pulled in a direction. And when you look at it that way, that you staying where you are is somebody else's advancement. Like the position that you hold, no matter whether you're, even if you're an entrepreneur, if you're serving a certain market, I mean, you've done that. You've gone from being an entrepreneur, one type of coach, into focusing more on other. I went from having my healing studio into focusing on other things. And you are actually taking space for someone else's advancement. Oh, well, there you go. That just solved everything, didn't it?
It really
I'm moving on
did.
because someone else is right behind me and they need this spot. And my concern for them is, bigger than my wish for
Exactly. And it's
myself.
all in that form of giving back, so, and I left. And then when my son went back, started kindergarten full time, I went back to school, got my diploma in nutrition. I became a certified executive coach. And at that point, even too, like I was speaking about leadership through food. It was really odd for me because, again, there was that little voice in my head. I'm like, you're using this to cover your real purpose here, and you're not listening to yourself. Again, it was other people's expectations of who do you think you are, or nobody's going to listen to you, and nobody's going to care what you say. All these things that go through our mind that really keep us stuck in that quicksand. So going through that, eventually I just had to, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take that leap. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna trust the universe because I feel like that's what's needed from me. And I mean, my son and I have a really beautiful relationship. So I talk to him about these things, in ways that, in terms that he can understand. So I had his support, and at that point, that's all that mattered.
That's beautiful. I talk about that with parents. There's certain things that I did with my son. My children are 10 years apart, so obviously it was different conversation. But one of the ways that I used to ease, and I'm not sure if it was guilt or understanding, one of the two, but when I went to go out of town to do a trade show and I was, endorsing product and selling product, every time I did, he knew that he got $5. So
I love that.
he was not only did he get interested in the products and start to understand what I was selling, because he had a vested interest in my business. But when I was going to go out of town, he's like, "You go, Mom, you go."
I love that. Oh, it is a whole another world when, I get this, asked this question often, does doing what you do, does it take away from you being a mother? And I said, no, it adds more to our relationship, because I've always said, I never want this to be outside of my son. He is a part of my life and I'm a part of his. And when I work with other moms who are entrepreneurs that come to this roadblock of that mom guilt, and it's that last little bit that's holding them just, go to their next level. And I say, remember, make this part of your child, your daughter or your son's life as well, because they will appreciate it. They will feel like they're more connected to you and excited. And who knows, maybe this add a little bug of like entrepreneurship in them. Who knows?
Well, it's a whole new paradigm, right? I mean, it really is a whole new paradigm of the conversation that happens around the breakfast, the lunch, or the dinner table, or the picnic, or wherever, I
Yes.
always say, my son was raised in an entrepreneur home. So a lot of times there was paper on the dining room table and we ate around the coffee table or whatever. But I think it adds a whole new element. And I think it also lets our kids see a side of us that by nature, people used to be the parent at home and then the worker at the office, or even, they go and they do their work and then they come home and they kind of shut off and go into parental role. And I think it's really beautiful how you're sharing with people to blend. So, okay, so here you are, you're in the world of dentistry, you got your first hit, you decided that you were going to step out so someone else could step in. That's a great hashtag, by the way. And we'll give that one to you.
We'll give that.
And then, yeah, I'm sure that's going to end up in the show notes. Just a feeling. And then, and here you are. And so now you're on the opposite side of it, and you are actually inspiring other people. And I know that in conversations with you earlier that you get approached a lot and people are saying things like, what can I do to be happy? And I've lost myself, or they're putting the word just in front, like I'm just this, or I'm just a parent, or I'm just a partner, or I'm just a teacher. And they're kind of doing this little bit of deflation thing. Where do you take people from there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's a
fill us
great
in.
question.
Yeah.
When I get approached with that just quote unquote is because we from childhood we are told to put a different mask on for a different person. And then
Mm.
that goes into our adulthood as well. And we continue to practice that. When we feel like we've lost ourselves is when we have that awareness that there's got to be more to me here than what I'm putting out or what people know me as. So what we do is we go backwards to when was the first mask you put on and why did you put that on and who was it for? And then we go through different chapters of life until they realize that everything that made them happy was because they did something for somebody else. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a beautiful part of connection and human emotion. But you also have to recognize that it needs to make you happy too. You need to be happy in order to truly and authentically make somebody else happy. If not, it's very short lived. And that's why you see a lot of marriages and relationships and careers fall apart because it's always you're giving. So
Right.
we start to break it down as to everything that you've done in life. When did you do something that made you happy? And this is a huge aha moment because I hear from women that I don't remember the last time I did something to make myself happy.
Mm.
And then
And
so I take. Mhm.
no, sorry. I was going to say to you, does that also tie into self-care, or we get lost and don't know what our passion is anymore, or?
I think we never get a chance to discover our passion.
Mm.
Right? It's really hard to know what your passion is if you've never had the opportunity to discover, or you've never had it role modeled growing up at home or in schools. Again, back then the school system's come a long way now, but back in the day we were just told to make sure you get a good grade because until you get that A, then you are worth something.
Right.
Regardless of it being creative or not. And if you're creative and you're outside of the box of what was asked, that's a bad thing. Now we tell all entrepreneurs, think outside the box, but we've been trained to think in the box.
You're hitting so many bells and whistles, and as you're talking, I can imagine what it must be like for one of your clients, because even as we're talking here, one of the things that they used to write on my report card and send home, Deborah needs to stop daydreaming. And now I get praise for being a visionary.
Love that. Gives me goosebumps. I've got goosebumps.
Right. But when you think about that from a subconscious standpoint,
yeah,
you're like, okay, stop dreaming, really stop dreaming and focus on your social studies. Right. And so you can see even in the most innocent form that someone would think that they're wanting to help you do well in school. Okay, just stop daydreaming, stop drawing those pictures, stop.
yes.
So that how it could really get buried deep inside of what truly makes us happy.
Right. Yeah. So when I ask women this, sometimes I get the simplest answer, Deborah, where they say, you know what, if I could just sit down and have a cup of coffee that is still hot by the time I finish it, that would make me happy. But I haven't been able to do that in almost a year.
Right.
That is a huge sign for me and for them to realize if you don't have 5 minutes to finish a hot cup of coffee, you're not enjoying your life to the fullest.
Right.
Right. And then so we go through that process and we break it down. And even childhood, like what made you happy? And I've had some clients say, well, I loved coloring that made me happy. And I say, okay, you know what, let's get yourself that. Let's create space for that with your coffee and your coloring book. I like to start with simple things first, because the more happy we are feeling simple things, the more we'll strive for our bigger dreams.
No, that's great advice. I mean, there's so many drops of, goodness here. And I think, there's probably half of the audience, I can hear them smiling and going, yeah, absolutely. Coloring. I mean, honestly, some of us use that excuse that have, grandchildren or nieces or nephews. They're like, oh yeah, I'll get down and color with you. Or, I'll throw the ball with you, or I'll grab the football and go throw that with you, or I'll kick the soccer with you, or I'll, whatever it is. And in it, I could just definitely see how that would give people fulfillment, like truly fulfillment, like
Yes.
self-fulfillment, right?
Yeah. And it just makes you show up better as an entrepreneur. If you're a female entrepreneur and you're working for yourself and you're creating all of this, the resources for others, but you don't have space in your own life to build memories with the people that you love, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always tell my clients that are female entrepreneurs, I say, if your business plan doesn't have a health plan for your mental health, you won't be able to sustain your business. You will crash at one point. Right. And it's really difficult to run a business from the hospital bed. It's the truth.
It is the truth. I mean, I say it all the time, and here's a great, how can I say it, milestone that things have changed, because I talk about having a coach myself. I talk about, taking that time out and having that personal time, that person you can talk to about business, life, what have you. And I just was sharing with you guys before the show that, what I did over the long weekend was spent time with a CFO for my son's business. Mm-hmm. And as she had broken out the numbers and she's showing me what we're going through, because he's 18. So let's face it, I'm confirming these things, right? He's like, yeah. Oh, how much money am I going to make a year? You know what I mean? Like, and so she said she had actually a line in there mm-hmm. for coaching. Right. And I was like, she goes, no, it's not an option. Mm-mm. And would you have done that 5 years ago? Would entrepreneurs have put in for a line that they're raising capital? Because he's going to do his business different than I did. Mine was an idea, and then off we went and made money. Mm-hmm. He's now going to go get some money and do the business. But no one would have thought, I think even 5 years ago, business associations, networking, which she had in there. She had business associations and networking fees. And then it was personal coaching. And I was like, glory, hallelujah.
Yeah. It's really, really important, because if not, you're just struggling quietly, right? It's you are saying that, no, I can do it all. I can do it all. It's really difficult to do it all and grow a business. Maybe in the beginning you can do it, but sooner or later you're going to hit that wall that's going to require you to have a team.
Agreed. So tell us, I mean, you've been doing this for a while now. People come to you and you help them find that happy place. And then what does it look like from there?
For them, it can mean so many things. It opens the door to possibilities for them. That's one of my biggest rewards, is to see them smile and say, you know what, that little idea that I had in my mind 2 years ago, and I stopped myself from doing it because I heard, who do you think you are? No one's going to listen to you, like we said earlier. They're able to accomplish that. Or it could be for one woman, she has a stronger bond and appreciation for her relationship. that for the first time in a long time, her and her partner are able to hear each other rather than just talk to each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could mean an entrepreneur doesn't have to experience burnout, where she understands the signals, she understands what her body needs, she understands what her nervous system is doing and how that's affecting her health. It can also mean a woman who is an entrepreneur who needs leadership support, somebody who feels alone in this journey, that she has a community when she comes to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? All of those things define success and happiness on their own terms for them. They also realize by the end of working with me, or if they continue to work with me, is they have a choice with everything they decide to do in their life.
It sounds to me, because I know that when we were sharing earlier, one of the things that I love that you talked about is that many times it's about, you have people that, and as an entrepreneur, let's face it, when you take this on, I mean, look at it, it's called mission accepted for a reason, because you don't just take it once. Stuff comes by, stuff comes up, and you need to be able to contain your emotions in that moment, or put that aside over here because we already had this going on. And there's all sorts of different skills that you learn as an entrepreneur, and the mission continues. Like, look at your mission can change and it continue. And we say yes once, and I think we really, to a certain degree, say yes every day. But as we unfold in our business, there's all sorts of other different opportunities that come our way, or ventures that come our way. And it's continuing to build that whole new mission. One of the things that you were saying, it's like people want to recreate their life, right? They want to recreate their life. People that come to you, are they looking for, like, they want to be, I'm just kind of getting, because some people, when they think about being an entrepreneur, they have a full-time, job. It sounds like, you deal with a lot of, women that are parents. So are most people doing part-time? Are they doing it full-time? Like, what are people now doing in the world of entrepreneurship?
Well, some of them, when they come to me, they have just started, and we create a roadmap for them to go into full-time entrepreneurship and what that will look like for them. And some like the idea of having the full-time and the full-time 9 to 5 and a part-time, and they're not quite there yet to take it full-time. So it can look like that. I also work with clients that are not moms, that are ready to say, you know what, I've taken that leap. I'm going to go full-time. I'm ready, but I need your support for mindset. I don't have the right mindset for this, because it's one thing to market yourself and look at how you want to be online and the business part of it, but the other part is really the mindset. So it can look different. Yeah. So
yeah. So mindset, is that a little bit of what we were talking about earlier? So just really changing how you think about things, having a different perspective on this new venture, those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, having a different perspective, understanding that right when you think everything is falling apart, it's actually falling together. So always having that flip side of, if something is not working out, which I mean, happens a lot in entrepreneurship, right? You can either sit there and let it get to you and then walk away, or you can look at the situation or this challenge and say, what am I to learn here? How am I to do this differently? And maybe also to understand your intuitive self. That's another deep lesson that my clients learn while working with me, is to listen to your intuitive self, because it will never lead you the wrong way. And a lot of times we're taught really young in life to not listen to your intuitive self. So awesome. They actually get that gift back of saying, no, this feels right. Or maybe I need to ask more questions here, right? Rather than just following the herd. Like, clients that come to me are done following the herd.
Right.
and they just want to live their life on their own terms, make their own rules, and make magic happen.
Well said. Well said. Okay. One of the last questions that I want to ask you, and it's interesting because I'm having all these questions come to me. And I know for me, if you want to talk about intuitive self, it's like, it's almost like I hear the questions of people that are listening to us right now or viewing us right now. And, people are breathing deep, right? And what mindset is one thing, but the other side of it is that you hear, I'm sure you do, is how am I going to be able to do this all? Like, I have, you tap them into these dreams and desires. Like, is there systems that you have found that, yeah, you're nodding,
yes.
You're smiling. Okay. So why don't you share with our audience, because now they're inspired, they're motivated,
yes,
they want to live life on their own terms, they're willing to take it. And then one of the voices they hear, they're like, where am I going to find time? How am I going to fit this in? So you're nodding and smiling. So go ahead, take it away.
Okay, let's take them through this. This gets me so excited. So what I get my clients to do is I get them to do an exercise with me, where is first we take a couple of minutes to ground. So take some few deep breaths, feel your feet on the floor. Next, I get them to envision their 10-year self. What does she look like? Where's she living? What is she wearing? Does she have kids? Does she not have kids? Is she traveling? What is she eating? All of those things. Who's around her? How is she feeling? Really envision their own self 10 years from now. And then write down everything their 10-year self is doing if there was no glass ceiling for them. And then I get them to now imagine you are in that space of your 10-year self and you're watching her on stage. And what is she talking about? How is she giving back to the community? What inspires her? And you write it down. And this is also, again, this is kind of going into their subconscious of all the hopes and dreams that they've kept inside. So this allows them to bring that out because they're in a safe space. So through that, I say, okay, now what I want you to do is to keep your eyes closed. And she's going to reach out her hand and you're going to reach out your hand and you're going to step into her. Like step into her body. And I want you to look at everything that she is looking at while you're within her. So once they do that, we allow that a couple of minutes for that. And then I get them to now open their eyes and say, well, how do you feel? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel different? Do you feel like you can do this? Because you just envisioned, you just saw your 10-year self do it. And you can just feel, like, gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. The last time I did this exercise with my leadership group, you can feel their eyes light up. You know, they may have come into the call really down for some reason, something was bothering them. You can see their eyes light up. You can see that halo of hope. And now
that's awesome.
And so now what they've done is envisioning themselves 10 years from now, they have a roadmap now. Because you don't know where you're going if you don't have a map. Then you can get distracted. And there's a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
So there is. You got to have that adventure yourself. But now that you have a roadmap. So then what we do is now we write down everything they want to create in their career, in their personal life, for their health, their relationship with family, friends, or partner. We make a 10-year plan. Then we break it down into 5 years. And then we break it down to the current. And then I get them to now say, now go back to your schedule. And if there's anything in your schedule that does not represent where you want to be in 10 years, it's a complete out. Erase it, rip it up, throw it away. And now and every time you start your planner, because I get them to do it monthly and weekly as well, is every time you go to your planner and you're creating your month or you're creating your week, the first things that go on it is where you want to be in 10 years. And then work your work down.
Beautiful. That's amazing. That I am 100% with you in, I can just imagine that feeling, just imagine that feeling. I love your halo of hope. I mean, you can almost visualize that, right?
Right.
I can read the show notes already, my friend. Okay. So Ashika, we're kind of coming to the end of our time together, as much as I think we could talk for a long time, and definitely we're going to be talking after the show and love to have you come back. So, is there anything that you want to share with people that are, during your journey, or, I mean, you've given some great things if people are stuck. I mean, just, themselves writing out that 10-year. Is there anything that you want to share about how you do your business, and leave some tips with us? And then I have a special question just for you.
Oh gosh, anything that I want to share. Oh,
Yeah, like,
there's so much I could share. The greatest thing that I could say to somebody is, when you want to create a life of happiness, success, and abundance, do it on your own terms. Don't chase somebody else's success. Figure out what success means to you, because that's going to make a difference in somebody else's life as well.
well said, right? And I can't, it's so important as we look upon the memes and the pictures in our world of social media. When we, before it was magazines. In my generation, it was a little bit more about magazines and wanting to be this person and that person, and everything was very celebrity and romanticized, right? And then you hear the massive amount of comparison, and I think that's always something really driven, is like bringing it back to you, and what does success mean to you, and what does love mean to you? And what does work mean to you? And what does craft and career and passion mean to you? So I think more and more people like you that are advocating for that and reminding people about that, the better our world's going to be, for sure. Okay, look, where can people find you?
Oh gosh, everywhere. You
Social
can
media.
you can
All right.
find me
Where
on.
can you send people to? Like, do you have a website, or?
I have a website, ashikalessani.com.
Okay.
You can find me on Facebook under Ashika Lessani, just my name. Instagram is Ashika Lessani Wellness.
Okay.
You can find me on LinkedIn at Ashika Lessani Leadership there as well. And yeah, you can find my book on Amazon, and you can find me through there as well. It's called Redesigning the Inner You, a book of holistic wellness. So it's for any woman who wants to create herself from inside out. It has all my recipes. It has journal entries. We talk about mindset. We talk about gut health and the nervous system as well, which is huge for mental health. Yeah.
Okay, so I am just going to be, because some people are not necessarily, reading the show notes. So Ashika is Ashika. Lessani is Lessani. And of course, we have all her information there. And it sounds like a lot of what she's got is about her name. So I'm sure if you put it in to Google, even, you're going to have a lot of things pop up, particularly if you just go to Amazon and put her name in, her book will pop up for you. So look, my dear, we're going to have lots of conversation, and more to come. I'm really
wonderful.
What a pleasure to meet you, even more so. But I have a question for you.
Yes.
So just for you. And so you're heading to a desert island. You're heading to a desert island. And if you know me, you know how much I love music. And you're taking one album with you, and it is the album, one album. You only have room in your suitcase for one, or you got to throw out your favorite pair of shoes.
Yes.
And so ironically, there's a record player on this desert island, and this is the music you couldn't imagine not listening to for the rest of your days while you're eating mangoes and pineapples and enjoying, your suntan. So what album?
God, you're speaking my language.
Yeah. What album are you taking with you?
It would be Diana Ross.
Mm.
And it would be one specific song that she has, and it would just be an album on repeat. It would just be a song on repeat called, I think it's called Teach the World to Dance.
Okay.
You gotta look it up. Just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. It's I think, as far as I know, that the song is Teach the World to Dance, but something world to dance. And it is, I have it on repeat. I play it in the mornings. It actually makes me cry.
Oh,
that would be my song.
All right. Thank you so much. And on talking about that, you guys know, please, talk about music. This is something, Ashika, please go put that song in They Did It Tour Facebook group.
I will.
So people are sending in videos now about what music means to them. We are less than a year away of heading over to Ireland to walk this incredible 8 marathon tour, myself and Corinne, to raise money for the music industry. And you'll love Ashika. One of the charities is Alicia Keys' charity of She is the Music, which is supporting women in music globally. It's just incredible. If you guys would like to be on the podcast show, honestly, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to reach me, kind of like Ashika. It's deb@debdrummond.com. This is not tough. You guys could just go onto the website. There's lots of things to look at. You'll see, the podcast and the media page, but mostly if you want to come on the show, just reach out. And alongside, the theme today of empowering women is that I have an incredible book launching International Women's Day, and there will be 262 women that are entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs and people in the creative and the arts and media. And we are compiling the most incredible book that's going to launch. And the book launch is on March 8th. If you'd like to be a part of that project, we'd love to have you. And then we are going to have a summit every single week, like 9 summits, all the way right up till Mother's Day. On May 10th, there's another book launch. And there's so much involved in that. There's so many places. If you are a woman in any of those categories and you want to play, you can just PM me, DM me, email me, whatever. If you know me smartly, you're going to just text me. But anyways, come along for the journey. Thank you so much, Ashika, with being us here today. And you guys, again, you're not the best audience. You're the coolest audience this week. So love you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate it here at Mission Accepted. And we will see you again next week. Bye for now.